Let me check in here too. It looks like we've potentially got a short setup also here on our dollar versus pound here. So one of the things that we've got here is is that we learn through repetition, because we have to be able to give ourselves a period of time to be conditioned to these visual cues. And so here's another pitfall for most individuals is what happens is these individuals now I see marketed on the internet here, is I see that what happens is I see where people are now willing to pay, in some instances, up to $15,000 to $20,000 to fly to some hotel meeting room and sit in what's called a trading boot camp, where the belief is in just a few short days they're going to learn the secrets of professional traders. And the reality is there are no secrets to professional traders. Those secrets are the exact same secrets that that any professional has. One is you need to get the correct foundation and the correct understanding of developing the techniques to understand how to apply the information. And then more importantly, the only way your acumen is going to develop is if you have the opportunity to practice it in a repetitive fashion. We can't just open up your brains and have the information poured in. We don't learn in that way. We all learn in the same process. Because the key here is we need to be able to retain that information. I'm just watching here to see if we can get that directional confirmation on our franc trade here. So we've got our long entry point here. And so what we're looking for is we want to be able to scalp out here net 10 pips off of this particular trade here. So we do have a long entry point that's developed here on our dollar versus franc. It also looks like I've missed calling the entry point on our pound versus dollar here, but there was a short setup that occurred on our pound versus dollar as well. And we look for net 10 pips in the course of these presentations so that we can see a trade from beginning to end. So we'll keep an eye on our dollar versus franc trade here and see if we can get our net 10 pips. We go for anywhere from a 10 to 20 pip profit objective here, and so we'll keep an eye on it. We work off of a 10 pip stop. We set our stop 10 pips off of the low of our entry candlestick. And we'll talk about so that's where our stop is going to be down here at this point right here. So we'll see how that trade develops as we move forward in the presentation. So one of the things I was discussing here is that we all learn in the same process. We all learn through information retention. And it's critical that everyone understands this, because once again, if the training process makes sense, then performance will naturally follow. And that's something that I can't stress enough, is that the training process makes sense. One of the key foundations of our program here at the Trading Institute is for one fee, we offer unlimited training to all aspects of our training program. And that's because we all learn in the same fashion. And that's through a repetitive fashion. You know, if you want to increase your skill set in anything you pursue, you're going to be able to do so via repetition. And it's important that the training process encompasses the areas that give us the highest level of retention. So when we look at this graph that we see on our chart here, this is from the National Training Laboratory, is we can see that the top bar on the graph, the highest level of retention is when we have access to one-on-one training. We can see that the next highest level is when we learn by doing. In other words, we have 75% retention. When we're involved in a real-life scenario, we have a 75% retention. And then the final is through discussion group. If we're able to be in a small environment where we can interact with individuals, we have 50% retention. The thing that I want to stress here is that our training process puts the most amount of emphasis in the top 3 bars of the graph, because that's the way we learn best. We don't learn best through lecture, 5% retention. And I see this all the time. I'm going to sit in a hotel meeting room, and in this hotel meeting room, I'm going to sit with 80 or 100 people and listen to some lecture in an almost passive format, and I'm going to believe that I'm going to retain that information. You retain 5% of it. I always hear, well, I'm going to buy a couple books, and I'm going to teach myself how to trade by reading a couple books, 10%, and maybe buying a set of CDs. We get 20% retention. The training processes that are the most effective are the ones that focus on the top 3 areas, the top 3 graphs. And I want to stress that because we all learn in the same process. So if the process makes sense, then performance will naturally follow. You know, we look at professional athletes, and how do professional athletes reach the height of acumen that they do? Through repetition and practice. It's not that someone taught them one time how to do a particular move, and then they got it and they move on and they never need to practice it. They practice over and over and over and over. And trading is no different. Remember, it's no different than the musician who wants to be able to understand and interpret the sheet of music. The only way that interpretation becomes easier, the only way the visual cues become stronger, is through the repetitive process. Everyone knows that if you want to excel at playing a musical instrument, you're going to excel through repetition and through practice. If you want to excel pursuing any endeavor, the way you're going to do that is by going ongoing training and exposure to the same information for an extended period of time, because then we have a higher likelihood of retaining that information. And that's why it's so important, once again, when evaluating the process, that the process makes sense. And so I see people who are willing to invest dollars in what looks like these quick shortcut training programs, and the reality is the reason why they're not consistently successful with them is simply because of the fact is that training process that they're focusing on, is geared towards the lower 3 bars in the graph. So there's no formula for success. So once again, when evaluating the process must make sense. So we'll take a look at, and we'll just quickly go in, and then we'll check and see how things are developing here. We'll go back in. We still, prices moving up on our dollar franc trade. I missed our pound trade here, so that it is what it is. That's the difficulty of trading in a real-time environment with and also trying to give a presentation at the same time. But it is what it is. So we'll stick and focus on our dollar versus franc trade here. It's inching its way up here. Remember, we're looking for a net 10 pip profit objective. So once again, the training process has to make sense. And so, as I was saying, the foundation of our program is for one fee you receive unlimited access to our training program. And we offer you this for a number of reasons. Reason number 1 is all people have commitments in their lives, and so they need unlimited access to the training process because you have professional commitments, you've got personal commitments. So by having unlimited access to the training program means you can pursue the program at your own pace. There's flexibility to it. So primary reason number 1 is unlimited access gives you flexibility. Reason number 2